If you've ever been through deep struggles, moments when the world seemed to crumble around you, yet you still felt something greater was waiting just ahead, you're not alone. The journey of the chosen ones is marked by intense battles, but also by an inner strength that, at times, even surprises yourself. Today, I want to invite you to look at something that could completely change the way you understand life, death, and most importantly, your spiritual path. We're going to talk about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as Bardo Thodol, an ancient guide that reveals not only what happens after death, but also how we can prepare for this decisive moment while we're still alive. For many, death is seen as an ending, the closing of a chapter. But for those called to a higher purpose, death is simply a transition, a door that opens to something deeper, something more expansive. And this is exactly what you, who have faced so many challenges, need to understand. In today's video, we will explore the teachings of Bardo Thodol and how they teach us to see death as an opportunity for spiritual liberation. It's not just about understanding what happens after death, but how these lessons can transform the way you approach every moment of your life. After all, for those who have walked through darkness, the light is closer than you think. I know the journey you've walked so far hasn't been easy, but if you've made it this far, it's because you're being prepared for something grand. So stick with me, because with every word, every teaching, you'll realize that true transformation is within your reach. And by the end of this video, you'll understand that your greatest challenge, your greatest moment of triumph may still lie ahead, and it will be magnificent. Now let's begin. Have you ever wondered if there is more to life than what we can see with our physical eyes? For those who've walked a path of hardship and pain, this question often lingers in the back of their minds. You've faced the darkest moments in your life, moments when you thought you couldn't go on, and yet here you are. It's as if something greater is pushing you forward, whispering that there is a purpose in all of this struggle. But what if I told you that this pain, this suffering, is not the end of your story, but merely a part of something far more magnificent? The Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Bardo Thodol, presents a radical shift in how we view life, death, and everything in between. Unlike many spiritual traditions that view death as a final destination, Bardo Thodol teaches that death is a doorway, a threshold through which the soul passes, transitioning from one state of existence to another. The Tibetan view of death is not one of fear or despair. Rather, it sees death as an opportunity for spiritual liberation. For the chosen ones, those who have faced incredible challenges, those who have felt misunderstood or even rejected by the world, the Bardo Thodol offers a message of hope. Death, in this context, is not an ending but a passage, a chance to release all the burdens that have kept the soul trapped in cycles of suffering. It's a powerful invitation to liberation. As you reflect on your own life, think of the moments that have tested you the most. Think of the trials that have pushed you to the edge, the ones that have made you question your purpose, your worth, your very existence. For many, these are moments of pain that define who they are. But for the chosen ones, these moments are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of something extraordinary. The Tibetan Book of the Dead invites us to consider death from a completely different perspective. Instead of seeing it as a terrifying unknown, we are called to view it as a powerful opportunity for the soul to break free from the attachments and limitations of the physical world. It teaches that in the moment of death, the soul encounters what is known as the clear light, a pure, radiant awareness. This is the ultimate realization, the moment of spiritual freedom. But this liberation is not automatic. It requires preparation, awareness, and the ability to recognize the light when it appears. For the chosen ones, this concept might resonate deeply. You've faced the darkness. You've encountered the fears, doubts, and challenges that others may never fully understand. But in those moments of struggle, there was always something within you that refused to give up, something that kept you going, even when everything seemed impossible. The clear light represents that inner strength, the part of you that has always known there was something greater than the challenges you faced. It's the part of you that is not bound by the limitations of the physical world, but is connected to a higher divine purpose. In the Tibetan tradition, The process of dying and transitioning into the afterlife is not something that happens automatically. Just as in life, the soul must be prepared. If one is unprepared for death, fear can arise, and the soul may miss the opportunity for liberation. Fear in the moments after death can cloud one's perception, preventing them from recognizing the clear light when it appears. This is why spiritual practice during life is so important. The more we can cultivate awareness, clarity, and understanding in life, the more prepared we will be when faced with the moment of death. Now, let's pause for a moment of reflection. You've probably heard many times that life is a journey, but have you ever thought of it as a preparation for death? For the chosen ones, life is not just a series of random events or struggles. It is the ultimate training ground. Each challenge, each moment of suffering, is an opportunity to cultivate spiritual strength, to awaken the awareness that will guide you when you face the ultimate transition. What if everything you've experienced so far has been preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine? When you start to see death not as an ending, but as a doorway, everything changes. The fear that once gripped your heart begins to dissipate, and in its place arises a deep sense of peace and understanding. You realize that your struggles are not meaningless. They are part of a much larger spiritual process. The challenges you've faced have been your preparation for the most significant moment of all, the moment when you will transcend the limitations of this world and reconnect with your true nature. But there's more to it. The Bardo Thodol doesn't just offer a vision of death, it also offers a vision of life. It teaches that how we live shapes how we die. The path to liberation doesn't start at death, it starts right now. Each moment you live with awareness, each moment you choose to rise above fear and attachment, you are preparing for your ultimate liberation. As we continue exploring the teachings of the Bardo Thodol, you will discover how these lessons are not just about the afterlife, but about living consciously here and now. The more you understand the teachings of this ancient text, the more you'll realize that life itself is the ultimate preparation for death and for the spiritual freedom that awaits. So, as you move forward on this journey, remember this: your struggles are not the end. They are a preparation for something far greater. And if you can learn to recognize the clear light in every moment, not just in death, you will find yourself on a path of liberation that leads to a spiritual freedom beyond what you've ever known. To fully appreciate the teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's essential to understand the origins of its wisdom. These teachings did not come from just any ancient tradition. They were imparted by one of the most revered spiritual masters in Tibetan Buddhism, Padmasambhava. Known as the Lotus-born, Padmasambhava is said to have brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 7th century. His teachings are not only about understanding life and death, but also about conquering the mind's deepest fears, the very fears that can bind us to the cycle of suffering. Padmasambhava's journey was not one of mere enlightenment. He faced immense struggles and challenges, just as you have, but it was through those challenges that he transcended the ordinary human condition. For Padmasambhava, the spiritual path was not about avoiding suffering, it was about understanding and embracing it as a powerful tool for transformation. In many ways, his teachings mirror your own journey. The trials you've faced, the difficulties that others may never understand, are exactly what prepare you for the spiritual liberation that awaits. Padmasambhava knew this well. He, too, experienced moments of doubt, pain, and suffering, but he emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected to the divine truth that lies beyond this physical world. Padmasambhava's teachings on death and the afterlife come from his understanding that life and death are inseparable. In his view, death is not a finality, it is a transition into another state of existence. The Bardo Thodol is, in essence, his blueprint for navigating this transition. It's a guide that provides the tools and wisdom needed to confront death, not as something to fear, but as something to embrace. In the Bardo Thodol, death is presented as a journey that you, as a chosen one, are already preparing for with each step you take in your life. This ancient wisdom has been passed down through generations, preserving the essence of Padmasambhava's teachings for those who are ready to understand and embody them. The Bardo Thodol is not just a text. It is a living guide, a source of empowerment for those who seek spiritual freedom. It speaks directly to those who have suffered, those who have faced the darkest of times, and shows them a way to transcend their pain and reach a higher state of awareness. For the chosen ones, this idea of death as a transition rather than an end holds great significance. You've felt the weight of your struggles, the burden of your past, and perhaps, at times, it felt as though you were being held back by forces beyond your control. But what if those forces weren't obstacles to your progress? They were, in fact, part of the very process of your liberation. Just as Padmasambhava faced his own struggles and emerged with profound wisdom, you too are being prepared for a transformation of immense power. Every challenge you've faced, every moment of despair, has been shaping you into the person you are meant to become. Padmasambhava's teachings remind us that the path to spiritual freedom is not about avoiding suffering, but about using it as a catalyst for growth. It's not about running away from death or the unknown. It's about facing it head-on with the wisdom and strength that come from living consciously. For the chosen ones, this is the invitation. To embrace the trials of life, to face death with an open heart, and to transform both life and death into a profound opportunity for spiritual liberation. So, when you look at your own struggles, your own fears, remember that they are not signs of weakness. They are signs of strength. The very things you've faced, the fears you've overcome, are what prepare you for the ultimate transformation. Just as Padmasambhava did before you, you are being trained for something far greater than what this world can offer. And the Bardo Thodol is here to show you how to navigate this profound journey. The teachings of Padmasambhava encourage you to cultivate a deep awareness of the impermanence of life and death. By doing so, you can begin to transcend illusions that keep you trapped in cycles of suffering. For the chosen ones, this awareness is the key to liberation. It's not about escaping life's difficulties, but about using those difficulties as a means of awakening to a higher truth. The beauty of Bardo Thodol is that it invites us to recognize the divine within ourselves, to understand that we are not merely bodies moving through time, but souls on a journey to spiritual freedom. This is the deeper message that Padmasambhava sought to convey. You are not limited by the struggles of this world. You are here to transcend them, to evolve, and to return to your true nature. As we continue to explore the Bardo Thodol, it becomes clear that its teachings are not just about preparing for death, they are about preparing for life. Preparing to live with awareness, to live with purpose, and to live with the understanding that every moment, every challenge, and every fear is part of a larger spiritual process. The more you understand and embrace this process, the more you can begin to live with the freedom and peace that comes from knowing you are on the path to liberation. When we speak about death in the context of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, we are not speaking about the end of life, but rather a profound transition. The Tibetan tradition teaches that death is not a final cessation, but a doorway, an entry into a new form of existence. This view is radically different from how many Western traditions approach death. For those on the path of spiritual awakening, death is not something to fear. It is an invitation to transcend the limitations of the body and mind, to embrace a state of pure awareness and freedom. As a chosen one, you've likely faced moments in life when you felt that everything you knew was slipping away. Perhaps you've walked through periods of great suffering or loss, when it seemed as though the very ground beneath your feet had vanished. In those moments, it's easy to feel as though everything is coming to an end. But what if those moments were simply the death of one phase of your journey, making way for a new beginning? This is the essence of the Tibetan perspective on death. It is not a final ending, but the dissolution of the physical form, making space for the soul to continue its journey. The body, as we know it, is impermanent, but the soul, your essence, transcends the limitations of the body and the mind. The Bardo Thodol speaks to this transition in vivid detail, showing that death is not to be feared, but embraced as a natural part of the spiritual journey. When the body dies, the consciousness does not simply cease to exist. Instead, it enters into a new phase of awareness. The Tibetan teachings speak of the clear light, a radiant, pure awareness that the soul encounters at the moment of death. This light is not just metaphorical. It is a real experience for those who are prepared to meet it. It is said that the clear light represents the highest form of spiritual awareness, the purest state of consciousness that exists beyond the physical realm. For the chosen ones, this clear light is an opportunity for liberation. It is the moment when the soul can transcend the cycle of suffering and attain spiritual freedom. However, in order to recognize the clear light, the soul must be prepared. If you enter this moment of transition with fear, confusion, or attachment, the light may be overlooked. The key, then, is spiritual preparation, living with the awareness that the physical world is transient and that your true nature lies beyond the physical body. This teaching is profound, for it speaks to the struggles many of us face in life. We often become so attached to our identities, our bodies, and the material world that we fail to see the deeper reality, the clear light that lies within us. The Tibetan Book of the Dead reminds us that true liberation comes from letting go of attachment, from surrendering to the higher truth that is always present. But this awareness is not just for the moment of death. It is something you can cultivate in your daily life. The chosen ones like you have already begun to experience glimpses of this higher awareness through your struggles. Every challenge you've faced has been an opportunity for your consciousness to expand. Every time you've confronted your fears, you've been preparing for the moment when you will meet the clear light with open arms. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol invite us to recognize that death is not something separate from life. It is an integral part of the cycle of existence. The experiences you are having in your life, the hardships, the trials, and even the pain are not signs of defeat. They are part of the process of awakening. You are learning to see beyond the physical, to recognize the impermanence of the material world, and to connect with the deeper truth of your being. In Tibetan Buddhism, the idea of death as a transition is often described as the soul passing through the three bardas. These are the stages of consciousness that the soul moves through after death, and each stage offers profound lessons for spiritual growth. We'll explore these bardas in more detail, but it's important to recognize that each stage is not just a phase after death. It is a mirror for the stages of life itself. The chosen ones in particular will find these teachings resonate deeply. You have already faced inner struggles, battled your own demons, and fought to rise above your circumstances. These struggles are not only a part of your life, they are preparing you for the spiritual transition that awaits you beyond death. The Bardo Thodol teaches that the awareness you cultivate in life is what will determine how you navigate these stages in the afterlife. In other words, how you live now shapes how you will transition when the time comes. This teaching is especially powerful for those who have walked through deep personal challenges. You may have felt as though your struggles were meaningless, but in truth, they are part of a larger process. Just as the Tibetan teachings guide you through the process of death, they also teach you how to live with conscious awareness, to transcend fear, and to prepare for the inevitable spiritual transition that will occur. By embracing the impermanence of life and death, you can begin to live with a deeper sense of freedom and peace. The struggles you face are not hindrances, they are opportunities for awakening. Every hardship you encounter is a step towards spiritual liberation. And just as Padmasambhava overcame his challenges to attain profound wisdom, you too are on a path that leads to spiritual freedom. As we move forward in exploring the Bardo Thodol, you will see how each stage of the afterlife mirrors the stages of life itself. These teachings are not just about death, they are about how to live consciously, how to navigate the trials of life with grace and awareness, and how to prepare for the ultimate spiritual freedom that awaits beyond the physical realm. The Bardo Thodol offers a clear map of the journey the soul undergoes after death, but these stages are not just theoretical. They are deeply personal and relevant to your life, too. In fact, the three bardas, The stages of the afterlife are not only a description of the post-death experience, but also a framework for understanding the cycles you face in life. These bardos represent the profound transitions between states of consciousness, and just as you've experienced internal battles in your waking life, these stages challenge the soul in its journey toward liberation. The first stage after death is the Chikai Bardo. This is the moment when the soul separates from the physical body, entering a state of pure consciousness. In this stage, the clear light appears, an intense, radiant awareness that represents the highest state of spiritual realization. For the chosen ones, this is a moment of great potential. The clear light is the opportunity for liberation, the moment when the soul can recognize its true nature and transcend the cycle of samsara, the endless cycle of suffering, birth and rebirth. But here's where it gets interesting. In order to recognize the clear light, the soul must be prepared. If you've lived your life unaware, attached to material things, or caught up in the dramas of ego, the clear light may pass unnoticed. This is why spiritual preparation during life is so crucial. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol remind us that it's not just how we face death that matters. It's how we live, how we cultivate awareness, and how we train our minds to recognize the truth that lies beyond the physical world. For the chosen ones, this stage offers a profound opportunity. You've faced so many challenges in life. Those moments of hardship, loss, and inner turmoil were not signs of defeat. They were the groundwork for recognizing the clear light. Just as you fought through the darkness of your experiences, so too can you embrace the light that lies beyond. When you meet the clear light, you will see it for what it is, the radiant awareness of your true nature, free from fear, doubt, or attachment. If you've ever felt like you were walking through darkness in your life, whether through grief, confusion, or emotional turmoil, know that these moments are preparing you for the clear light. This is the moment when you will finally see the truth that has been there all along, waiting for you to recognize it. It's a moment of great spiritual freedom, a moment when you have the opportunity to break free from the cycle of suffering and begin your return to your true self. The second stage, the Koniad Bardo, is the phase where the soul encounters various deities and beings. These deities are not external forces. They are projections of the mind, representing the soul's own karma. Some of these deities appear peaceful, embodying compassion and wisdom, while others appear wrathful, representing the darker aspects of karma, the unresolved fears, desires, and attachments that the soul carries. For the chosen ones, this stage is particularly significant. You've already battled your inner demons during your life, whether through struggles with self-worth, anger, fear, or unresolved trauma. These demons didn't arise by accident. They are reflections of the unresolved parts of yourself. In the Koniad Bardo, you will encounter these projections of your mind, and the key to liberation here is recognizing them as such. The deities you encounter are not external threats. They are reflections of your own consciousness, and how you respond to them will determine whether you move toward liberation or remain stuck in the cycle of suffering. This is a powerful teaching for those who have faced deep inner struggles. If you've ever battled with your own fears or felt trapped by your past, know that the Bardo Thodol offers a pathway to transform these struggles. In the Koniad Bardo, the soul has the opportunity to face its fears head-on and recognize that these projections are not real threats, but opportunities for growth. By recognizing them as projections of the mind, you reclaim your power and begin to transcend the fear that once held you back. Imagine this stage as a reflection of the inner work you've already done. Every time you faced your fears, every time you confronted your past, you were preparing for this very moment. Now, in the Koniad Bardo, you will have the chance to face your deepest fears, not as external forces, but as reflections of your mind. By recognizing them as such, you free yourself from their grip and move one step closer to liberation. The final stage in the Bardo Thodol is the Sitpa Bardo, the stage of rebirth. After passing through the first two Bardos, the soul enters the Sitpa Bardo, where it faces the opportunity for reincarnation. This is where unresolved karma, unhealed desires, attachments, and actions come into play. The soul must confront these remnants of its past and decide whether to continue the cycle of samsara or break free from it. For the chosen ones, this is the final test. Will you continue to repeat the cycles of suffering, or will you break free from the chains of karma? The Siddha Bardo offers one last chance to liberate the soul from the cycle of birth and death. It is the moment when the soul must confront its attachments, its desires, and its unresolved issues, and decide whether to be reborn into another cycle or to transcend it entirely. This is the culmination of all the work you've done up until this point. If you've faced your fears, transformed your attachments, and embraced your true nature, the Siddha Bardo offers the final opportunity for liberation. You have the chance to step out of the cycle of samsara and enter into a new state of spiritual freedom. But for many, this stage can be difficult. The attachment to the material world, the desire for comfort, pleasure, or security can be overwhelming. In these moments, the soul may choose to be reborn rather than transcend the cycle of suffering. This is why the preparation for death must begin in life. The more you cultivate awareness, compassion, and wisdom in your daily existence, the more likely you are to break free from the cycle of samsara when the time comes. The Siddha Bardo is the final opportunity for spiritual freedom, and for the chosen ones, it represents the culmination of your journey. You've faced the trials of life, you've encountered your fears, and you've cultivated awareness. Now, as you face the final moment of transition, you are ready to break free from the cycle of suffering and enter into a new state of liberation. While the stages of the Bardos after death are crucial to understanding the soul's journey, what's truly transformative is the realization that how we live our lives directly shapes our experience in the afterlife. The Bardo Thodol does not just offer a map for the soul's journey after death. It provides a powerful tool for living a conscious, purposeful life. For the chosen ones, this is an urgent call to live in full awareness, to engage with the present moment, and to cultivate practices that will lead to spiritual freedom both now and in the future. Throughout the teachings of the Bardo Thodol, one message stands out. Awareness is everything. It is not enough to simply prepare for death in a theoretical sense. We must live in a way that allows us to recognize the truth that lies beyond the veil of this physical world. For the chosen ones, this is your invitation to live with intention, to be fully present in each moment, and to seek out the deeper meaning in every experience, whether joyful or painful. Your past struggles, the obstacles you've faced, have been the training ground for this kind of awareness. Every hardship, every challenge, every moment of feeling misunderstood or out of place, these experiences are not just random events. They are part of a greater spiritual preparation. In a world that often values distraction, materialism, and ego-driven pursuits, the Bardo Thodol calls you to step beyond these illusions. It challenges you to recognize that your life is not merely about surviving. It is about awakening, about aligning your actions with your highest spiritual purpose. To live with awareness means to confront your inner world as much as the outer one. It means recognizing your fears and your attachments not as obstacles, but as opportunities to transcend. Each time you face your darkness, you are preparing yourself for the clear light that awaits you after death. But this process must begin now. Your ability to face fear, to embrace love, to act with compassion, and to see through the illusions of the material world is what will prepare you for the moment when you must confront the realities of death. The Bardo Thodol emphasizes that spiritual practices such as meditation, self-reflection, and detachment are essential for preparing both for death and for life. These tools allow us to cultivate the inner peace and awareness necessary to confront the challenges of the Bardos and ultimately achieve liberation. For the chosen ones, meditation is not just a practice, it is a lifeline. In moments of chaos, fear, or confusion, meditation provides a space of stillness where you can reconnect with your true nature. It allows you to quiet the mind, observe your thoughts without judgment, and come into alignment with the deeper currents of your consciousness. Through meditation, You will learn to recognize the clear light not just in death, but in every aspect of your life. Self-reflection is equally important. It allows you to examine your motivations, your desires, and your attachments. The Bardo Thodol teaches that it is these very attachments, whether to people, possessions, or even ideas, that bind the soul to the cycle of samsara. By regularly engaging in self-reflection, you can identify these attachments, loosen their grip, and begin to live more freely. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means living with a sense of spaciousness and openness, free from the weight of attachment. For the chosen ones, detachment is the freedom to experience life without being consumed by it. It is the ability to hold all things lightly, knowing that they are not the source of your true happiness or fulfillment. The practice of detachment helps you to align your life with your spiritual path, allowing you to live with a deeper sense of peace and purpose. One of the most profound teachings of the Bardo Thodol is the concept of samsara, the endless cycle of suffering, birth, and rebirth. The teachings explain that this cycle is not just a physical process, but a mental and spiritual one. Every thought, every emotion, every action, and every attachment keeps the soul trapped in samsara. For the chosen ones, this understanding of samsara is liberating. It shows that the power to break free from the cycle of suffering lies within you, not in external circumstances. It is not death itself that binds the soul to samsara. It is the unresolved karma, the attachments, and the illusions that we carry with us. In this final stage, the Bardo Thodol encourages you to look closely at your life. Are you living in alignment with your highest self? Are you clinging to old patterns that no longer serve you? Are you caught in the illusions of fear, attachment, and ego? The teachings of the Bardo Thodol invite you to examine these questions deeply, to break free from the habits and beliefs that keep you stuck in the cycle of suffering. The concept of liberation, of breaking free from samsara, is not just about escaping the cycle of suffering. It is about preparing for a grand return to your true self, to your highest potential. For the chosen ones, this is not just a spiritual ideal, it is your reality. You are on the path of transformation, and every challenge you face, every trial you endure, is a step closer to your ultimate liberation. The Bardo Thodol calls you to prepare for this return, not just after death, but in every moment of your life. The return to your true self is not something that happens after death. It is something that begins now. It is the return to the awareness, the wisdom, and the compassion that reside within you. It is the moment when you fully embrace your path, your purpose, and your potential. This is your call to live consciously, to live with purpose, and to live with the awareness that every moment is an opportunity for spiritual liberation. You are not just preparing for death, you are preparing for the triumphant return to your true self. And in doing so, you will surprise everyone who has witnessed your struggles. They will see you rise above the suffering, rise above the illusions, and step into a new world of spiritual freedom. Your return will be grand, and it will inspire all those who have watched you struggle, for they will see the strength you've cultivated through every hardship. As we come to the end of this exploration, the question remains, are you ready? Are you living consciously, preparing for the great return that awaits you? Or are you stuck in the cycles of fear and attachment that keep you bound to samsara? For the chosen ones, this is not just a question, it is a call to action. Your challenges were not an accident, they were a preparation for something much greater. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol remind us that liberation is not just possible, it is inevitable for those who are willing to walk the path with courage, awareness, and love. Your return is near. The journey you've walked, full of trials, full of battles, is leading you toward a spiritual freedom that will surpass all understanding. Prepare for it, embrace it, and when the time comes, step into the light with the full awareness of who you truly are.